Hello everyone and welcome back to Crowley House Flower Farm. This week we are going to be pruning some David Austin roses. I have about 20 of them up close to the house and that's where I'm just gonna start. We've had some absolutely beautiful weather here on the farm. A little bit cloudy, but the sun kind of pops in and out. There have been like days where we're in the 60s and it is the beginning of February. So we have been kind of warm this year, even though we had that cold spell about a week ago. But I kind of have this feeling, you know, any gardener might do this, but you kind of get this gut feeling that things are gonna start popping early this year. So we're already seeing some things like our daffodils, anemones, ranunculus, you know, all those things kind of pushing forward a little bit earlier than we would normally. So just a couple weeks early. So I wanted to get going on these roses, and partly because these roses are sheltered. You can kind of see behind me these beautiful ponderosa pines. They kind of shelter these roses. So I'm gonna start here and then we'll move as we get going with this project, because it's a big project on our farm. We have over 700 roses and some of the roses we're moving out. This year we're just not gonna be farming that many roses. So I'm moving them on and out to other places. We'll give them away to people. So I just thought I would start here, and we have this gorgeous day, even though it looks, there's like all these clouds in the background. So I'm just gonna take you through some of the steps that I do to prune roses and kind of my thoughts on it, and we will just see how far we get. I'm hoping to get all 20 of them done. This is a big chore. I'll show you the tools that I have to start with today. So I have my well-worn gloves. I have some pruners here, which I really like for the smaller things, and then I have bigger ones as well, just because my hands don't always work super well. The only thing I forgot was a rake, so I'm gonna go get a rake, and then Jason's gonna bring me the four-wheeler with the little trailer on it so that I can throw the clippings in the back. I also have some rose tone food for them, and I'm gonna give them a little lovin' of that at the end. So I found my trusty rake in the barn, and so I'm gonna take that back over and get started. So we have been busy cleaning up all of these garden beds and putting down fresh compost, and I'm just kind of working my way back to where these roses are. So I've got 5 of the Lynchfield Angels and I've got 5 of the Queen of Swedens behind me that I'm going to be just pruning up, there's so many weeds underneath them, you guys, this is ridiculous. But I am going to just start here and work my way, continue working my way that way on to the next set of David Austins. These here are probably 3 years old, and they've done really, really well. I planted them too close together, so again, it's something I'm probably gonna have to move. But the David Austins that are closer to the house are probably, I got those when I first moved here, so over 12 years old. So they are very well established, beautiful roses. So with any rose, you kind of want to start off by assessing what type of rose it is. Is it a bush rose, or is it just, you know, kind of your standard, you know, stemmed rose that comes up? So with mine are just kind of your standard David Austin garden rose. And so I kind of know how to cut it. I'll do some other videos on different types of roses and how to cut it. Like, do you want to shear it? Do you want to go in and remove stems? As most gardeners, and especially when you're new at gardening, you can get intimidated by roses, I think. I think that's the one thing that intimidates me, but I've learned over the years to be less scared of them, I guess, because they come back over and over, and I've made mistakes in pruning them and they still look lovely come summer. And so I've just learned not to be so afraid. I literally just go in and whack them back. We have been known to use a chainsaw to do the initial whack. So just because we have so many of them, you come through and you just take that 1/3 to 1/4 off the top. And if you want them to be a little bit more robust, you're gonna cut a little bit harder. So we cut in the way to use for floral design. So we're looking to push blooms and not so much the shape of the rose. Anyways, these roses up towards the house, I am being a little more careful about how I cut them because I want them to look lovely. They're more of a garden type style, even though we use a lot of them for floral design. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with my Queen of Sweden. Queen of Sweden's kind of fun. She's a beauty. She's on the cover of David Austin 2024 catalog this year. And it's really kind of interesting. And the reason I like it is because it's got a little bit more of an upright stem to it. So it's not, so like I'm gonna be doing Litchfield Angel, and that one's a little bit more splayed like this. So it's kind of fun to use different roses in different scenarios in your garden. So if you needed something along a fence line or something that's very straight and narrow, Queen of Sweden would be amazing. Oh, she's so pretty. Kind of this like beautiful pink color. It's got these ruffles on the inside and then almost like this cup that kind of embraces it. So lovely. Really nice long straight stems as well. So for floral designing, these two roses that I'm doing now are probably one of the more popular requested ones that I have. So I'm gonna start with Queen of Sweden and then go from there. What I'm gonna do is just my initial whack job. I'm gonna take them down by, you know, they're up to my waist now, so I'm gonna take them down below the hip, basically. I'm gonna go through and just kind of whack them back. You can kind of see the ones that get a little more sun are taller and more robust, and the ones towards the back are not as tall. So I'll show you the comparison. So sun has a lot to do with how well your rose is growing. So I'm gonna have to move some of the ones in the back over here. Anyways, I'm gonna show you this because it's kind of cool. So you can tell the ones down here are much taller and bushier. And then as you come down this way, look how puny this little guy is. So these will be moving out, just moving to a different area, to a different garden. But you can kind of see even the structure of them is a lot less, I guess. So this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 canes on it. And then you come over here to the little more wimpy one. Come over here to this one and it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's 1, 5, but it's not great. Even 4 is not great. Okay, so I'm gonna get cutting here, take my initial whack off. So all I'm doing is when I made my first cut, I kind of gauged that as far as my 1/3 off the plant. And then I just kind of eyeball it and kind of cut from there. Okay, so I had to just jump inside and fix my clippers. They kept sticking. I don't know if you ever have that happen, but it was really frustrating. So basically what I'm doing is whacking it back to one level, and then I'm gonna clean up all those big branches, and then we're gonna go in and fine tune them. It just helps to just keep it a little more, I guess the job quicker for me. So underneath this, we have quite a bit of like seeded verbena. It was like, I have a bed of it right next door to it. And so it just kind of self-seeded over. So I'm also pulling out some of that because that just goes abundant throughout the farm. Okay, so I'm back to my job, got my clippers going again. And yeah, it's coming really fast. So I'm not even worrying about where I'm cutting. I'm just chopping away at the length that I need it. And then we'll go in and fine tune it. Right now it's just literally getting off the mast. So I'm not even caring too much about what I'm doing here. So that takes part of the, you know, the hard part about, I guess, cutting roses out. If you just don't think about it and you just whack away, just go for it. It's kind of fun. Okay, so I'm done with the Queen of Sweden. Got the initial cut done. I'm gonna head on to the Litchfield Angels and I'm gonna do the same thing. They're a little bit broader. They're a little more vigorous rose. And so there's a lot more stems to cut. So it'll take me a little bit longer, I think, but I'm just gonna shear off the top and then I'll start fine tuning. I did clean my pruners between the roses. You don't always have to do that, but I like to do it because it kind of prevents disease and that kind of thing. When I was a kid, we had a rose garden. My father would plant a rose every time a child was born. And so I kind of have this fascination with roses. Mine, I think, was a Mr. Lincoln, which was a red rose, very traditional looking type. And so I remember as a kid just loving to hang out with a rose garden. It wasn't very big at the time, but so roses have this stately, I think, feel to a garden, or they just add that classic feel or charm to the garden. You know, you see a lot of times in movies and things like that where, you know, they have these beautiful gardens with the rose, and it's always like the camera is always like focused on this beautiful rambling rose, and it just kind of catches your breath. You know, you're just like, oh my God, that's gorgeous. I want something like that. And I think, you know, especially with the David Austin roses, they just kind of capture that feel that is so romantic. Maybe that's what it is about roses. They're just so romantic. And there is this element of the feeling that they are hard to grow, scary to grow because you're afraid you're gonna do something wrong. You know, all the things that can go wrong with roses. Anyways, I feel like, you know, just over my years of growing roses, I used to have that fear. And like I said, now I'm just like walking away and not caring so much. And they do beautiful. I'm sure in other parts of the country or world, you know, different climates, like I know that if you're in a colder climate, you have to plant the rose, you know, in a certain way. You want to bury it a little bit deeper, and then you want to mulch it, you know, in the winter. And some people have bug issues, or like we get aphids and things like that. Our biggest issue is the Japanese beetle, the aphid, and thrip. And so for those, what we like to do in a natural approach, and we will use like beneficial insects. Lacewings, or you'll see them all over. And then planting kind of diversely. So having flowers that are, you know, pollinator friendly close by your roses, and things like that will really help bring in those bugs that do eat like the thrip and that kind of thing. For aphids are really easy. I just take my thumb and just kind of wipe them off if it's just starting and the buds are very little, and I can just do it really quickly. You can also use just regular dish soap and water and spray it on, or even spraying your bushes off, which if you live in a climate that has like some more issues with humidity, sometimes that's not the best thing to do, just because you can then introduce things like powdery mildew, black spot, that kind of disease. So we do live in a wet climate generally. Lately, it hasn't been so much like that. We have our wet season, which is now, and then we have our dry season, which is in the summertime. And so like last year, the roses did amazing. No, hardly any black spot. I could just literally, actually, I didn't even spray a fungicide for that. We just had beautiful roses without doing anything to them. It was just amazing. Not every year we'll have that. So we hardly had any issues with bugs or anything last year. This year will probably be completely different. But that being said, everybody's climate's different, everybody's garden's different. You can have a microclimate within the city or in the country, or, you know, it's individual. But those are all things that I'm like always watching for when I'm looking at my roses, and any bug issues that we do have. And I think because we do have kind of a diverse garden, especially with all the cut flowers that we grow, we just tend not to have too many problems. Pacific Northwest is known for growing beautiful roses as well. We got some amazing rose growers here, amazing rose gardens as well. Those are always fun to go see. But I need to get back to work because these roses are not gonna take care of themselves. Okay guys, so we've got the initial cut done on both of the roses, and you can kind of see, this one is the Lynchfield Angel, and you will see how it kind of has more of a vase type shape to it, kind of edged out. Over here is the Queen of Sweden, and you can see how much more upright it is. I love that. So it just makes it a little bit harder to get in with your pruners and kind of cut in here. I'm gonna try and show you what we're doing here and why I'm selecting what I'm selecting. So we're gonna start with this Queen of Sweden here, and you can kind of see how this branch here is kind of dead and gross. Nothing's really crossing, but you can see over here, this one's really close together. So we'll probably select one of those. My ideal goal is to get at least 6 to 8 of these stems coming up when I'm done pruning. So you also want to take off anything that's really weak and spindly, like less than a pencil size. So this branch obviously is not a great one to keep. So this is also a wound on one of the branches here. So I'm gonna take this one completely out to the ground. I need my other galoppers for it though. So I'm gonna go grab those, and I'll probably take this one as well, which is just really close to this really nice sturdy one. And this one also has a little bit of disease at the top.
Roses are possibly one of the oldest flowers believed to originate from Central Asia. Fossils of roses have been found to be dated all the way back to about 35 million years ago. The oldest living rose is about 1,000 years old and is growing on the wall of the Cathedral of Hildesheim in Germany. Rose petals have microscopic perfume glands on their lower petals, and these are responsible for producing their beautiful scent. Did you know that each rose color has a different meaning? For example, red roses tend to represent love and passion, whereas yellow roses might inspire a feeling of warmth and comfort.
So I've got all of the roses cut back, and so now my job is to go in and fine tune with just weeding and pulling out any debris that's underneath each rose. Then I'll be laying down my fertilizer and then some compost over the top, and it should look amazing when it's done. I love that I've gone from one end of the garden to the other and just piecing off a little bit at a time, partly because I don't know, as you age, your hands start to hurt. And if you're, the things you need to do though to help with that is just make sure that your trimmers are very sharp before you get started, and then just chunk out little projects like this at a time. So I think I'm just gonna stop at the 10 roses, and I'm gonna do the other roses tomorrow and let my hands just kind of rest, because that's a lot to then go in and weed and do a lot of this. So I'm just taking it easy. I'm listening to my body, and that's the most important part when you're gardening. Is just to listen to your body and chunk it out into little pieces, not try and do too much. You know, if I had the crew here, we'd be doing all of them, but that's gonna be next week. We'll do that. So for now, I want to enjoy this process of cleaning up roses, and it really is an art form. You know, you just kind of get lost in your own thoughts as you kind of clip out and prune out all the little pieces. So I'm excited to see the finished look. As my weed cleanup, what I have is my Haas tool. It's like kind of like a skinnier weeder. I really like this one. I'll link it below. It's just fine enough to kind of get in really close to the edge. And then I've got just like it's kind of like a hori-hori, but just a spade basically that's, good to get the big roots out. So I'm just gonna go along and try and get as much as I can out. I also have my knee pad just, to cushion the kneeling as I go along, but it should make pretty quick work with all these tools. Inevitably, gardening is a labor of love. You have to get out here and tend to it. And it's a lot of work, but it'll keep you in shape, or it will put you out of shape if you're not careful. is getting cold out, and I've had to stop and start because I've gotten 101 phone calls, it feels like, today. But I'm almost at the end. I'm just gonna add some of my rose tone around. It's about 1.25 cups per, and I'm just gonna put it around the base, and then I'm gonna put in some of the compost. I just went and shoveled it up. I'm gonna put it down and call it a night. You know, gardening is a labor of love, I tell you, it is. And you have to do all this hard work to get the beautiful show in spring, which is exciting. And I think that's what spurs us on. I don't know about you. Maybe in the comments below, let me know if you have a favorite David Austin rose or a new rose that you're putting in this year, or if you are intimidated like I am, even every year when I come to tackle the roses, I still have this little inside, and then once I get going, I forget about it. It's all good. Anyways, let me know if you experience that. I don't know. Also, if you are interested, we do have a Patreon. I'm gonna link that below. We would love to have you tag along. If you feel like, you know, you wanna be a part of our family here at Crowley House, we'd love to have you. Also, give a big thumbs up and a like, and we will be seeing you next week in the next video. And I'm just all eyeballing this. It's not perfect, but I'm gonna go ahead and put that layer of mulch in and just kind of run my fingers around and get this worked in a little bit. Like I said, I'm putting this first just because we are gonna have some rain. I don't want it to run off. And this will help it kind of soak in over the next couple of months. Okay, woohoo, that job is done. I'm gonna wheel down here and start here. Almost done. Okay, well, that project is done. Oh my goodness, that was a workout, but it looks really good. So I wanted to give you a before and after look just to kind of see where we came from. More for myself because you forget. It's taken most of the afternoon to do this project, so, but it's looking so good, don't you think? Anyways, here is a before and after. So if you remember, we started with tons of weeds. All those verbenas were just rooted in there. So I just worked on getting those out and clearing all the rest of the weeds. Wintertime is the best time to really get a jump on the weeds. That'll save you so much time in spring if you just kind of scuff through using my little hand tools, using that little forked thing that I got from Haas Tools, which has been wonderful for getting around some of those harder spots to get into. But anyways, I think it looks so good. So rewarding to have that fresh compost down, all the weeds gone for a while, and then just the fresh little green tips of the roses coming up. And I think they're already budding out, you guys. We're pretty warm here. So it's about 60 degrees right now. I'm heading in. Jason's making I think a taco soup of some sort. Anyways, I hope you all are doing fantastic and just loving planting the gardens or even able to get out in your gardens. Let me know, like I said, down in the comments below. We would love to hear from you. And until next time, much success in all you do and grow. We'll be seeing you shortly back here at Crowley House very soon. Bye-bye.